All right, Corey Hillebo back again with Dr. John Murphy from AgXplore, and we are talking white paper still, and this one is specifically on Onward Max, a PGR, and that's one of them buzzwords that we go back and find the Farm for Profit episode with Gunny that we talked PGRs, but what specifically did you guys research on this Onward Max white paper, John?
Yep, definitely. So this white paper right here is specific about Onward Max with corn.
Okay.
And we replicated it at 3 different locations. And again, we replicated it because we want to see how it acts across a whole bunch of different environments. Third party, right? So CRO, we had nothing in it other than we supplied the product and we set up the experiment. And the great thing about this Onward Max really boils down to the ROI. And we can talk about how we got there.
Yeah.
But the thing with Onward Max, it's a 91% success rate.
Wow.
That number is almost unheard of. It makes me nervous to even say it.
Yeah.
But we have 100+ trials that show we have about a 91% success rate.
The biggest thing I see with this is it seems like it has a very specific time.
Yes.
So what is the timing on this product?
Yep, I love that you brought that up. Everything about Onward Max is about late season. So it is a 3-way PGR that's designed to help mitigate stress and help enhance grain fill. And I think those are 2 key things and honestly hot topics that we've been hearing this year with Southern Rust go through.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So PGR, what is it, and then what is in Onward Max?
Yep, so a PGR, it's a regulator, so we can think about it as a signaler. People call it hormones, but what it's doing is we're applying it to the plant to bring about some type of change. That's how I look at a PGR. So let's talk Onward Max. Onward Max is a 3-way PGR, specifically designed for that late season. So it has chitin, has choline chloride, and then it has the Aaron Judge, I like to call it, it has GABA that's going to be in there, which I think is the big heavy hitter, right?
Yep.
It's the home runs when we go in and we need them.
Yep.
So let's just real brief, if that's all right, talk about what those 3 things do.
Absolutely.
So chitin and choline chloride, they've been around since the 1970s, right? You think 5 traditional PGRs, they kind of fall into that window. Chitin is all about reproductive success, flowering, pollination. That's where I put my chitin late season. Choline chloride, I think, is a really neat kind of older PGR because what choline chloride does is it helps keep the chlorophyll from breaking down. So let's talk about that for a second. We get late season, the sunlight starts to kind of shorten up, we get some stresses, our plants start to yellow. What's happening is the plants are naturally breaking down that chlorophyll. The problem with that is then we lose grain fill duration, right? And grain fill duration, as you and I were just talking, I really think that's one of the biggest yield components we have because if I can gain myself an extra 10, 14, 21 days of grain fill, now all of a sudden I'm talking test weight.
Yep.
And so that's our second one. And then the third one is that GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. And there's 2 big things with that. Stress mitigation. And so we know plants can get stressed just like you and I do, right? When you're in the combine running, you had a lot of cortisol that was pumping through the body, right? You got irritated, you didn't eat right, your cells weren't working right. That's right.
Maybe we should make a drink.
That's right. But GABA does the same thing in plants. It helps to mitigate that ethylene, which is the stress hormone.
Okay. That makes a whole lot of sense. So now let's talk ROI of this white paper. White paper. Looked like it was 12 bushels across those studies, which correlates to $49 ROI. That's
pretty
crazy.
Phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like we said, with a 91% success rate. And this is why I like to tell people that kind of 11 to 12 bushel, that's a great number. We like to tell people it's 5% of your yield. So if you're in 220 bushel an acre corn, you're going to be over that. You're at 200 bushel an acre corn, our data shows you're usually going to be running right around that 10 bushel. It is just a very consistent across every crop we put it on.
And this is specifically for that fungicide timing, correct?
Yes. Yep. It is specific to late season, right? So if you're making a fungicide pass of that VT brown silk on corn, that's where we want to put it. Soybeans, it's kind of that R2, R2.5, if we want to call that R3. Getting it on with the fungicide, we don't want an extra pass, right? Because no one's going to do it. But I also like to tell people it's best if you lead the stress. Right? Once your plant is stressed, you can't ever go back and get the yield. You only preserve from that point on. So if you can lead that stress, my opinion, that's the best time for it.
Do you think that it should always go with a fungicide, or can it stand by itself?
No, it can stand by itself as well, and we have great trials. I always tell people as I travel, I've learned some areas you need 2 passes of fungicide. Let's be honest, I've seen 3. But there's a lot of places that aren't running any fungicide, and this is still going to be that plant health pass. It's going to mitigate that stress and keep the plant going.
Yeah, specifically here in Iowa, I don't know if you'll ever get anyone to not use a fungicide again after Southern Rust this year, but I mean, it's not always Southern Rust. That's not an every year problem, but we got tar spot and other, northern and all that
yeah.
other stuff. So it's definitely a great time to get that on. And man, I'm a believer in the late season
Yes.
now. This year more than ever. It looked like November on September 15th, and the yield maps show. So I actually have some trials of this out myself that I probably could write my own white paper on.
It'd probably be better than mine.
I can't wait to dig into that stuff after harvest. But you heard it here first. Another great product from AgXplore and their white papers. Always learning, always improving.